Okay, hi guys. So I think we should start now while waiting for other people. Oh yes, everyone is ready. So I will pass on to Victor, and then he can start his training. Yeah. 这个是遥控的全部。
如果要看他们的留言是
If you have any question, just type it out in the Zoom group chat.
我按了播放，然后它就没了。start， 这个程序是结束了。 out of Australia and work up to 40 hours every 2 once your course starts. One cannot give
one person say cannot give. Anyone else here? Hello? Reconnect again. We'll reconnect again. Here now. Hello? Can everyone hear? Wow.
Should be fine. I can see the microphone kicking the signals there. Showing the nothing.
Oh. Strange. What about now? Can everyone hear? Hello? Oh, okay. Yes, can hear now.
Okay,
Okay,
let's keep going.
Okay.
So generally, we can look at these 3 bullet points here. With this visa, what you can do. First of all, with this visa, you can participate in an eligible course. So that generally means a Cricus course. The course is registered with the Education Department of Australia and have a Cricus code. And I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with that. If you don't know what a Cricus code is, then you probably need to go back to the application process for the education programs and look for the definition of a Cricus code. And then with this visa, you can travel in and out of Australia for unlimited times. That means you can cross, unlike the tourist visa sometimes, it does not limit the times you enter the Australian border. If you want to travel outside Australia, when you hold this student visa, you can totally do that, as long as your education provider, your school, your university allows you to. And then it's one very important right here. You can work for up to 40 hours every 2-week period once your course starts. That means before you get the subclass 500 visa, you cannot work. You can only work after you get the subclass 500 visas, and your course needs to start. So, for example, if a student gets his subclass 500 visa, let's say today, and his course starts 2 weeks later in February, that means he cannot start working in Australia until his course starts. And for this part, the visa also allows the students to work during the holiday period between education sessions. And also during the holiday sessions, there's no 40-hour limit. That means if a student has just finished one semester of course and has been on a holiday, and during this holiday time before his new semester starts, he can work unlimited times. And all of these work hours will be checked through the tax record. That means if a student would like to work in Australia on a subclass 500 visa, he'll need to be careful with his tax record. And also, let's look at the length of the visa. A subclass 500 visa is a temporary visa. The length of the visa can be different. For the maximum time, it's 5 years, but it depends on the type of course and the course's length. For example, if you're only applying for a 1.5-year master's, the visa will usually be around a little bit more than 1.5 years. It can't be 5 years unless you have a really long education program. And for the primary school students, it's a little bit different, especially for those who enrolled in year 1 to 4. They'll only be able to grant a student visa for a maximum of 2 years. That's because they're too young, and the immigration department would not like to increase the risk. Okay, let's keep going. And if a student would like to stay longer after the current student visa expires, they have several choices. So if they want to continue studying in Australia, they must apply for a new student visa. And sometimes the students would like to return to their home country, but they want to do that after their graduation ceremony, which happens probably months later after their current student visa expires. In this situation, they'll usually apply for a subclass 600 visa. That's a visitor visa. And for some Southeast Asian countries, they can apply for an ETA that allows for a 3 more months stay in Australia. Usually, if you're applying for subclass 600 visitor visa to extend your stay, you need a letter from your university saying that something like you have been invited to participate in the graduation ceremony at a certain date. And if you hold or held a student visa and completed a specific qualification in Australia in the last 6 months, you might be eligible for a temporary graduate visa. That's subclass 45 visa, or we'll usually refer to as PSW visa. And if you want to stay longer for other reasons, you must apply for a new visa that suits your circumstances. That means if a student wants to stay longer in Australia after their current subclass 500 visa expires, they must apply for a new visa. Otherwise, they will become unlawful in Australia and will be held in detention and sent back to their home country and leave a very bad record. And this is very important because the visa expire date affects the student's immigration or legal status in Australia. So every agent should always ask the students to keep an eye on their visa expire date. This happens a lot when the students go into like group of 8 universities and their courses are very hard, and then they failed 1 or 2 subjects, which means they need to redo the subjects, and that causes their education program to be much longer than their current student visa. In that situation, they will usually get a new confirmation of enrollment, and also they must apply for a new visa before their current visa expires. Otherwise, they'll be in a lot of trouble. And also, for a student visa, like many other kinds of Australian visas, you can include some family members into the visa application. That means some students can bring their partner, their spouse, or their children to Australia while they're studying. So here, there are 2 kinds of people that you can bring: your partner and your dependent child. That means the child who is unmarried and has not turned 18 years of age. And if a student wants to bring their family members to Australia together with their student visa application, they must declare the family member. And declaration here is very important. Some students may have a fiance or fiancée who will get married in the near future after they apply for the student visa, but they fail to declare that family member to the department. That means after they get the student visa, they won't be able to bring their married partner, currently fiance or fiancée, to Australia because they have not told the department they have this kind of relationship. And at last, your family members can also apply as a subsequent entrant. That means you can, if you have a family member and you have declared that family member to the immigration department, and if that family member is eligible, your partner or a dependent child, and they want to come to Australia and join you after you have been granted a subclass 500 visa, they can do that as long as you declare the family member to the immigration department. And here we can generally look at some public informations related to the processing time. These are all public information. You can find these information on the immigration department's website, and they'll update the information regularly. And currently, 75% of the, we'll look at some broader sense here. First of all, regarding processing times, different kinds of student visas have different processing times. There are many streams of student visas. We have foreign affairs or defense sector student visa. Those are for government cooperation students, usually through government agreements. And we have postgraduate research sector. That's for students who study master by research or PhD. And non-award sector. That means the students who come here to study something is not a degree, not a certificate, not a diploma, usually something like a short training course. And we have school sectors for primary school and high school students. And then we have Eligibs sector. That means those students who come to Australia only studying English course, registered English course. And we have VET, vocational training sector, for those students who come here to study certificate level, diploma level courses. And at last, we have the higher education sector. That means the students who come here to study bachelor degree or master by coursework. And each kinds of student visa will have different processing times. We can generally look at the figures here, something that most related to us. We have school sector. That's usually around 60 days to 4 months. That means 75% of the applicants are processed within 60 days, and 90% of the applicants are processed within 4 months. And then we have the VET sector. That's 42 days to 74 days. And at last, we have the higher education sector, 26 days and 42 days. Generally speaking, in our consultation, that's not, okay, here, Kathy has some question here. Is the duration maximum? No, that's not the maximum duration. It's actually a reference provided by the immigration department. We can tell the students like 75% of the application, say like higher education sector, are granted within 26 days, and 90% of the cases are granted were decided within 42 days. But that does not mean a visa cannot be granted before 26 days or after 42 days. You may find some cases, in our cases, some very developed countries or some Chinese students may get very fast grant period. Something like something you may not believe, like 5 minutes after the lodgement. That does happen. And sometimes, for some cases, it does go beyond 42 days. It can go to around 1 month, 1.5 months, or even 2 months. And usually for onshore applicants, the higher education sector or the VET sector will be much longer than the offshore applications. Any other questions related to the processing time? Okay.
Should be fine.
Okay, should be fine. Then we'll keep going. Then we can look at how the process to apply for a Subclass 500 visa. So the step one is always collecting the applicant's information. And there are some key information here that you must collect from the applicant. Usually we do that through the means of an application information collection form. Something important are identity information and contact details. They must be updated. This is important because if the departments find something or they have some concerns, they may contact you. And if they cannot contact you, they'll just refuse the visa. And then it is very important to write down all the family members. And here, family members, family members means parents, children, spouse, and partner, and siblings. And only these people are needed. Like people like uncle, auntie, grandparents are not needed. Just collecting information of these people. This is important because your family member or family structure may, to some extent, affects the process or the assessment of your GTE. If you have a large family in your home country, that may become a big incentive for you to come back to your, go back to your home country after you graduate. And that is a pretty good thing. And then you need to carefully write down the student's study history. Courses they have studied. And you need to note down whether those courses were completed or not. And this is also a factor in the GTE. The case officer will look at the student's study history and try to figure out if the students have the ability to study in Australia. And also we have the employment history here. It is very important to ask students if they have any formal employment history. And that is even more important when students have a quite long studying gap in his history. For example, students may graduate from high school and did not study for 1 year, and then they come to us saying, I'm going to apply for a foundation program or a bachelor degree. And then you need to ask him, what are you doing this 1 year? Usually there will be some employment. And it is good to have employment history in the studying gaps. And also, employment history is a factor to be assessed in the GTE. The case officer will look at the relevance of your employment with your courses. And then we have the health history. The students will need to tell you if they have some serious illness like TB or HIV or cancer, things like that. And also, students will need to tell you their international travel history in details. The name of the country, the border entry date, and the border exit date. And also, you need to collect the visa history. Generally speaking, if a student have traveled to different countries and return to their home country, is a good sign. And you need to pay specifically attention to the student's visa refusal history and cancellation history. That is, you need to ask the students if they have been refused an Australian visa or a visa cancellation in the past. That is very important because there is a question in the visa application form asking you if the students have been refused any Australian visa or been cancelled any Australian visa or overstayed an Australian visa. If you answer no, but the Australian government found out to be yes, you'll be barred from applying for any Australian visa for quite a long time. That's usually at least 3 to 5 years. And also, if they have taken a language test, you need to collect their language test scores. Okay, then we can look at the documents. So there are some easy things to collect. Identity documents, passport, national ID, birth certificates, change of name certificate if applicable. That is very important. When you collect the student's information, identity information, you need to ask them if they have changed their name in the past. If so, you need to tell the department they have used other names and provide the change of name certificate. And you need passport. You need to give the passport to the department to check. But for national ID, usually you don't need to give that to the immigration department. However, you need to collect that to fill the visa application form. And then it's the COEs, the confirmation of enrollment. And then it's the OSHC letter. And then it's the CAAW letter if the applicant is under 18 and has applied for homestay. And here there are several forms. If the student is under 18, you need to collect form 1229 from the student's parents. This is an agreement form telling the department that they, as the student's birth parents and the current guardians, allow the Australian government to give their teenage child a visa. And then if you're engaging a registered migration agent, you need to provide a form 956. And if you as education agent will launch the visa, you need to collect a form 956A from the students. These are the authorization forms, meaning that the students give the authorization to you and asking you to launch the visa for them. And then the form 157A, the visa application form. We usually do that online. You don't need to download form 157A from the department. You only need to collect the information. We'll transfer the information to the application form. And keep going. Preparing documents. And then here comes the financial documents. First of all, how much? Basically, you can calculate the capacity of the first year tuition and the first year living cost for the main applicant, this much. And if the students comes with a partner, you need to add 7,100 up to the financial statement. And then if you come with a child, you need to put in the child's first year living cost. And these are the recommendation from the department. But in our recent experience, we kind of consider it a benchmark, not really a recommendation. You need to be this much at least, and you need to be as much, the financial statement needs to be as much as possible. And when the financial document is required, it really depends on the level of passport country and the education institution. That means you need to check this tool every time. This is a website from the immigration department. And it's a tool for you to check whether this specific student needs to provide financial documents in their application. We need to wait for a while. It's very slow.
Why is it so slow?
All right, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so first of all, it's getting slow again.
Something wrong with the computer.
It's probably the graphic card. If you don't have a powerful enough graphic card, it can't really go to this big.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. First of all, you need to look at the student's passport country. Right. Let's say if a student comes from Afghanistan, and then you need to choose the education provider. Now let's just choose some random college. And then you need to choose what kind of student it is.
Maybe you want to close the group chat. Minimize it.
I'll put it there.
Yeah. Okay.
You can choose what type of students. Yes. Foreign affairs and trade sponsor student, usually no. Defense student, usually no. Most cases, like 99% no. Secondary exchange students, usually no. And requesting a further visa for PhD thesis marking, usually no. So in most cases, we just select none of the above. And then we click display evidence. Then you need to find. You need to find among these lists if there are financial documents needed. Okay. We have identity, evidence of intended study, welfare arrangements, parental consent, health insurance. Yeah, here, evidence of financial capacity. If you find this, that means you must provide the financial documents to the department. And see, there are two parts. Financial documents. The funds cover your travel cost and 12 months of living and tuition fees.
Just a bank statement, right?
Yeah, just bank statement. Or evidence of income. Like 60,000 Australian dollars for a single student, and 70,000 for students that are accompanied by family members.
A pay slip enough or a letter?
Usually letter, pay slip.
Yeah.
Yeah, take bank loan will basically just directly give the bank loans to them.
Okay.
They don't have the money.
Okay.
Yeah, and see how the department goes with that. Usually bank loan is not an ideal
Not ideal.
not an ideal evidence.
Okay.
The ideal evidence are always bank statement and the income evidence. Okay. Then we go back. It is very important that you check this tool every time. Internet connection is unstable. Can everyone hear me?
Let me check.
Hello, hello.
Should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep going. Language test outcome. Usually, it also depends on the level of passport country, the risk level of passport country, and you need to look at the thing here again. But I do strongly suggest that you provide language every time. And then is the big topic here, GTE. We can generally touch upon the key issues here. First of all, you need to bear in mind that just don't base the contents of the GTE on any templates. You can use the format. You can use other people's format, but never, ever try to copy their contents. Generally speaking, each student should have their own story, telling the department why they are a genuine student. And here we have the 5 key questions matrix. You can ask these 5 questions to the students and ask them to answer these 5 questions as much as they can. First of all, your reasons for choosing to study in Australia rather than in your home country. Usually that relates to the comparison between the general education environment in home country and Australia. And the second question is your reasons for choosing to undertake the course of study specified in your application. So it comes to the reason why you choose this course, specific course. And then is the reason for choosing your education provider. And next one is the relevance of your course to your academic background or employment background. That means if you have studied, if you don't have an employment history, you need to talk about your study history and link that to the course you have chosen. And last question is the relevance of the course to your future career. That relates to your future career plan. And you need to link this course to your future career plan. And it has to be something with strong argument, not just some speculative statements. Like, I believe I will have find a good job in my home country. You need to talk something solid, like the job market in your home country or in the countries near your home country or the countries around your home country, and try to give the department some solid evidence that you can find a job and you'll be paid good. And generally, we can summarize what the visa officer would like to hear. They would like to hear a high level of familiarity to Australia's education system, to the course structure of the program, to the strength of education provider. and they would also like to hear very persuasive, that means realistic discussion of the relevance of the program to your background and your future career plan. And then it's the last step. Submit the application and pay the government visa charges. And after getting the visa, there are some very important conditions, visa conditions that students need to follow. First of all, is the work limitation. 40 hours in 2 weeks during the course session, that's for the main applicant. And unlimited hours after main applicant start the course, if the main applicant is studying a master's degree or doctoral degree. That means if a student has applied for a master's degree and has successfully bring his or her spouse or partner to Australia also on a student visa as a secondary applicant, his or her spouse will be able to work unlimited hours as long as the main applicant has started the course. There is no 40-hour limit anytime after the course starts. And then it's the condition 8202. You need to remain full-time enrolled. That means if you're on a student visa, you cannot be a part-time student. And you need to, how to say, you need to be very successful with your study progress. You need to provide satisfied study progress to the department. That means if you have failed your courses or subjects too many times, the department may consider cancel your visa. And then it also means you cannot downgrade your course, except for PhDs downgrading to masters. That means if you're studying a degree level course, like bachelor or master, you cannot downgrade to the courses like diploma level or certificate level. And if you're downgrading your course, you need to apply for a new visa rather than staying in your current old visa, because you are breaching the condition now.
Oh, so you can apply for a new visa if the student want to downgrade?
Yeah.
Okay. In Australia?
In Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the chances?
Still a GTE issue.
Okay. Yeah.
You need to, each case is different.
Yeah.
You need to look at the student story.
Okay.
And see if it's persuasive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if the student say on the student visa under higher education, and then halfway the student withdraw from the course and go to study diploma course, and the student visa hasn't expired yet.
Usually the department won't do anything
Okay.
until you apply for a new visa.
Okay.
And that it becomes a big problem because
Okay.
you didn't tell the department.
Okay.
They found out. So there is a big principle here
Yeah.
with the department. If there is anything you're not sure or you think it's going on, it's
Okay.
going wrong,
Yes.
you need to tell the department first before they find out. If they find out,
Right.
they'll go after you and
Okay.
find you a lot of troubles.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And then if you're under 18,
Mm.
you need to maintain arranged accommodation and welfare. That means
Yeah.
if you are under 18, you need to stay with your homestay You cannot leave your homestay or your nominated guardian before you're 18. But once you reach 18, you can leave. But there is one thing here. If a student has booked a homestay, and that means he's got a CAAW letter. You need to look carefully at the start date of CAAW letter. It needs to be that means sometimes it's the date of the visa grant and the start date of CAAW is different. That means although you may have got your visa, you still can't enter Australia because
until the
because the CAAW start date hasn't started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in that case, if you enter earlier,
you breach the visa.
You're breaching this condition. You may be if you're that's pure like a problem of luck. If you're very unlucky, you're at the custom with a quite strict officer.
Okay.
He finds out this problem. He'll just send you back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And also, if you're under 18.
Okay.
If you want to change your arrangement of accommodation, always maintain enough notification of your intention of changes. That means if you want to change, you need to like tell the homestay agency or tell your homestay parents at least some weeks before you really want to act. Okay. And then we can touch a little bit on Subclass 485 visa. It's also connected to student visa. There are two streams. PSW stream is mainly for the students who study degree level courses. That means bachelor degrees and master degrees. If your first student visa to Australia is after 5th of November 2011, and you're holding a student visa now, or you held a student visa within the past 6 months before you apply, and you meet the Australian study requirements. That means the degree or the degrees you have studied in Australia are at least 92 weeks of Crackers registration, or and at least 16 calendar months of actual study. And of course, all programs used to satisfy the Australian study requirements must be at least at bachelor level. That means if you have studied both diploma and bachelor, unless it is a nested program. If they are separate program, you need to be careful because although you can satisfy the 92 weeks because the bachelor are always registered as over 92 weeks. You may be not able to satisfy the 16 calendar of actual study.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you need to be careful. Usually, if it comes from the same university, and it's a package COE, diploma plus bachelor, then it's nested. You don't have to worry about that. If it's separate, then you be careful. If you have applied for the foundation plus advanced diploma first, and you don't know, you haven't applied the bachelor, then you need to be careful with that. And also, it is very important that this visa must be applied in Australia and be granted in Australia. That means when you apply for this visa, you have to be in Australia.
Okay, right.
That means you have to have a visa.
Okay.
And when you're granted this visa, you need to be in Australia. That means if you're outside Australia before the grant, you need to come back to Australia. That's something many students may face. Because some students, like they have graduated. They traveled for some months. And their student visa expired. They went back to their home country. And suddenly they found out they can apply for this PSW visa. How can I apply for it? I can't come back. In that case, they need to apply for tourist visa.
And they come
But,
back.
Yeah, they come back. Usually for the ETA countries, it's easy.
Okay.
But for students like Chinese,
Yes.
it's not quite easy
Okay.
for them to apply for 600 visa because they don't have work.
Okay.
They don't have a job. They don't have income.
Okay.
It's hard for them to get one.
Okay. What about the IELTS? If the student has an IELTS for within the last 2 years?
Last 3 years.
Last 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
last 3 years. The department accepts English language tests taken in the past 3 years. Yeah.
Don't need to be IELTS, right? Can be
Yeah, it can be
PTE.
PTE.
Okay, right.
And generally TOEFL,
Okay, yes.
PTE,
Okay.
IELTS. And then once you get the PSW stream graduate visa, you get unlimited work right and 2-year period. And currently they're 2 years.
Yeah.
And if you're studying in a regional area, it can be 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And then there's another stream. This stream is mainly for the diploma students, diploma level or trade certificate students. They need to nominate an occupation. Still, they need to currently hold a student visa or held a student visa within the past 6 months before they have applied. And then they need to nominate an occupation on the MLT SSL list. That means the skilled independent occupation. And then they pass the 485 skills assessment. And then they also need to meet the Australian study requirements. 92 weeks registration, 16 calendar months of actual study, and you can combine different diplomas. But all the qualifications you used needs to be closely related to your nominated occupation. This is different from the PSW stream. We can go back and look at the PSW stream. It only requires the level of the qualification to be bachelor. It does not have any limitation on the major. That means if you're if you are like studying accounting,
yes,
and after that you did IT,
yes,
you can use both. Yeah, and get the 45. However, with this visa, if you have done let's say used to that one the childcare center manager. Some people will study diploma of childcare, right? And if they have studied something like a diploma of commerce and a diploma of childcare, they can only use the diploma of childcare because their nominated occupation is diploma of childcare.
Okay.
Yeah. That means all the qualifications need to be related to the nominated occupation.
So for this one, the 485 skills assessment, there are also requirements there.
Yeah,
Different occupation.
Yeah, usually it's with TRA.
Usually with TRA.
Usually it's with TRA, and accountant have one, but accounting students don't need this one. Usually it's with TRA. You need to like just complete the qualification. Yeah. Most of them will only need to complete the qualification.
Work experience?
Not really, because it's not a full skill assessment. It's a 45 skill assessment.
Oh, okay.
Usually the requirements will be lower than the full skill assessment. There are a lot of experience concessions. You don't need to have work experience in most cases. Usually it's just a completion of qualification.
So what is the example? For example, if a student complete Diploma of Hospitality 2 years program.
What is your nominated occupation?
I think cook, chef, include the
Yeah, they can do that.
Include the certificate for in commercial cookery.
Yeah, they'll get that. They should get that.
Okay.
Yeah, last time when we were at the Global Institution, we talked about that. They should get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should get the professional skill assessment.
Okay.
But last time that agent just mixed the professional skill assessment with the full skill assessment. He was referring to the provisional skill assessment, not the full one. The full one needs a lot of experience.
Okay.
But the
485.
The 485 one does not.
Does not need.
Yeah, you only need to complete the school project.
Okay.
Yeah, should be fine.
And then they get 2 years visa.
No, it's 1.5 years.
Oh, sorry, 1.5 year.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And still there is the IELTS requirement.
Yeah.
You need to be careful with that.
Okay.
And it also be applied in Australia and be granted in Australia.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and 1.5 year period.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much for today's content. Question time. Any other questions?
Any question? No.
The parents. That's another topic. That's the 590 visa. That's the guardian visa. Well, we can generally talk about that. First of all, there can be only one parent going with the underage student, and the parent needs to apply for a 590 visa, the guardian student guardian visa. Generally, the requirements are mainly about GTE, and there are a lot of weight placed on the financial position of the student's family.
Okay.
Very strong. That's because like half of the family's financial income suddenly just disappear. And the other part of the family needs to provide a very strong financial position to support the other two people. And the length of the visa for the parents are usually I thought they were asking questions. Okay. And the length of the visa for the parents usually is the same length as the student visa. And if the students will be over 18 during the period of the student visa, the visa length will be the time of student visa starts till the birthday, the birthday of the student's 18th year. So that's pretty much for the 590. It's more of a GTE issue and strong emphasis on the financial position of the other parents. And it is very, how to say, inflexible in terms of traveling. If a parent is on a 590 visa, the student on a 500 visa, that student cannot leave Australia without the company of the 590 visa applicant. It needs to be always together, leaving and entering Australian border together.
Any other question?
What if the parent have health issues? Do you mean that parents will need to return to home country and for medical treatments and then return to Australia and keep being the guardian of the student? Is it the case?
Visa not granted yet.
Then you need to be careful. The visa may not be granted if the parent have health issues. Yeah, definitely. If the parent's visa cannot be granted, the students can go back to CAAW. there is no public information on minimum financial requirement. So generally, you need to look at the Australian economic situation. Like in Australia, usually the average salary would be like around 50 to 60,000 per year, and average asset holding may be around the same amount of money. So you need to be, I think, to be safe, you need to be at least having this much, showing to the department to persuade them that you have a good financial position. But in all cases, as much as possible. If you can provide more, always provide more, and always provide at the best you can if you need to prove your financial position.
Any other question?
In that case, it's quite easy. The students can shortly transfer to CAAW for some time. Then the parents leave, and then the parent leave Australia, and then when the parent come back, and the students just exit CAAW and return to the parent's guardianship. That means you need to arrange beforehand. If there are some sudden changes, then you probably won't have enough time to arrange the CAAW for the student.
Yeah. Any other question? Same as well.
Okay.
Okay. So if any question, then we can continue to chat in the chat group. All right.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.